The alcoholic level is quite high. We are in Stefano Boeri's house studio /studio, and we are with the probably the most beloved designer in the design world, really, because nobody speaks badly about Konstantine. Really, everybody loves him. That's fantastic about someone, you know. When no one talks badly about you, and that's Konstantine. And there must be a reason. For sure, there must be a reason. Konstantine was born in 1965 in Munich. Then he went to study in England. He studied at Royal College. Then when he was 25, when you were 25, you studied. You had an internship with Jasper, right? With Jasper Morrison. But it lasted only 1 year.
Yes.
Then you came back to Munich and opened your own studio.
Exactly. Yeah.
And since then, only projects that make people dream. But then there is something that really, there is something that really I think is your way of approaching projects. Looks like they're very technological. Let's take Chair 1 for Magics, for example. You know, it looks like there is the low resolution image, or something like computerized aesthetic. But then in the explanation on your website, you just say, it's like a soccer ball. In the soccer balls, you just put different surfaces together to create a shape, and that's what I did. And so it completely dismantled the whole technology castle that you did in your mind, and that makes you more human than an approach like, let's say, I don't know, the technological ones in the design world. And that's Konstantine. I mean, talk about whatever you want. Talk about Miura, that is so beautiful. Talk about the punk rock that you showed with Mito. I mean, Mito is a punk chair, no? Is it or not?
Yes, maybe.
Which music plays Mito for you? To call a chair Mito actually is a hard thing, huh? Why did you decide that?
The name actually comes from the motorbike, the Cagiva Mito.
You used to have one?
No, it was.
Because I read on an interview that what you would have liked to be was a Formula One driver. Can you imagine?
It's a stupid thing to say, but I like speed, and I like the restless kind of movement. But I don't think that has much to do with that particular chair. What was your question?
First of all, I asked you, Mito. Which music does Mito plays in your mind? I think music is very important for a designer, right?
And I think you refer to the punk chair because there's a very beautiful kind of text written by Jonathan Olivares called Punk Chair. It was published in Abitare. But it doesn't, in a way, refer directly to the chair. It refers to a strange trip to West Texas, to some bar which had a punk rock concert with some kids from Austin, Texas, and people listening to that concert in front of the stage in a small, really greasy pub, dancing with chairs and aggressively dancing around chairs and with chairs, and I think this was what the text was based on. And it happened that at that same time I was working on Mito. For me, Mito is not necessarily a punk. Doesn't refer to punk rock. It's actually too sophisticated. I think the Chair 1 maybe more is the kind of punk rock. Very fast, direct, forward type, and I was brought up on punk rock. That's the music that maybe I don't listen to it so much anymore now, but it's the music that really informed my musical taste and my passion for this kind of something that is radical in the sense of just essential, um, totally stripped of anything that may not be necessary. Also, not too sophisticated, not necessarily skilled, but quite raw. That for me is the beauty of punk rock music, and that's also the beauty of some products. Sometimes, you know, maybe, you know, I have that feeling in the process of working. That
to put your hands on the process.
Yeah, there's an action, an activity. So we build models in the studio, and I do that not only because I need the models in order to verify a process, but also because I actually love the action. I love the restless movement, and probably in those moments there is music in the studio, and the music can even accelerate this rush. Or the
Marco McLaren died a few days ago. We were already very sorry. But when you talk about Restless, it comes to my mind the lesson at Politecnico of Achille Castiglioni, that you often say in interviews that he's definitely one of your maestros, no? Definitely. And he was restless. If you remember Achille, he was never, it was always in movement, right?
Yeah, yeah.
How comes that you say that Achille was one of your reference points?
Well, it was probably kind of, it wasn't that conscious. It was...
Because in a way the poetic that you have is very different.
Yes, and I think, you know, the reference of Achille Castiglioni is kind of, was by a certain chance that when I started to discover design, and discover that design, you know, could be something for me to do in my life. There was a Castiglioni exhibition in Vienna. Mm-hmm. I was in London. Not in London actually, in England at that time. And my sister lived in Vienna. She sent me a catalogue of this man, Achille Castiglioni, and this book, which is the famous Electa book with the red tractor seat.
Yeah, I remember that, right.
And we all remember that book, and probably, you know, you know every single.
Can you imagine? I have it in German.
Probably because of the exhibition in Vienna, which then traveled to the Centre Pompidou, and I know every page of that book because at that time it was the only book about design I had. Lucky to have that book and not another one, but I think this is why Castiglioni became so kind of so relevant or important to me, but
that means that your curiosity toward culture is accidental. I mean, don't you pick up? I mean, if you have like a bookshelves full of books around you, aren't you very picky in choosing the things that you're interested to?
I'm very picky, and you know, but sometimes chance can just be perfect. So it was chance that and of course my sister knows me, so she picked the book for me and she sent it to me. It was my good kind of fortune that it happened that way, and I wouldn't have stayed with that book unless it really interested me. You know, I did, you know, read this book back to front, and but there's something nice about Castiglioni, of course, which is, first of all, for me, he became a designer that had a face. There was a personality behind these objects. And when, you know,